Welcome to another episode of Irish From Three with Coach Ben Smith. I'm Jason Holcomb, your host, joined as always with Coach Smith. Down at the bottom, I'm not going to point to the bottom because it's like a mirror effect. So whenever I point one direction, like if I point that way, he'll be that way. And then joining us today is a very special guest from our 2009 state championship team, an SEC star with the University of Georgia Bulldogs, and now currently coaching on his own up at Riverside Military Academy, Sherrard Brantley. Sherrard, it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure to be here today. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we got to get down. We got to get down to the nitty gritty. We got to start it off right. You know, you had number 23 on that jersey for a while, so we got to ask you not have you watched The Last Dance, but how many times have you watched The Last Dance, and is it the greatest thing that's ever been put on TV?
It got to be the best thing on TV as of today, anyway. I don't know about the greatest thing ever, but it's close to it, especially with the time being the way it is right now.
What about you, Coach Smith?
Oh man, I'm a big MJ guy, but I'm like Sherrard. I don't want to get caught up in the moment and just saying it's the best thing ever, but it's definitely needed right now. And I felt like a little kid watching it. It took me back, and I could have watched all 10 episodes Sunday, really.
I'm gonna tell you. See, for me, y'all were young. That was like right in my wheelhouse. When the Bulls got good, I was 11 years old, and in fact, the reason I started pulling for the Bulls is because I hated the Pistons. I hated them, and so I really didn't. I wasn't one of those MJ guys that was just jumping on the bandwagon. It was more like, I hate the Pistons so much that I'm going to root for anybody to beat them, and I think the Bulls got the best chance to beat them. And then, so that was my whole teenage life, was watching those Bulls. I watched just about every single game in the late '90s with his second comeback. But see, y'all were little kids.
It's crazy though you say that, because when I was watching it, I was telling Tiffany, I was like, I remember. I don't really remember them beating the Lakers in '91, but '92 the Blazers, and '90, I remember all that.
Wow.
4 and 5, I remember vividly. And then not the second run, of course. And they used to come on TV every game, on channel.
Yep.
They had their own station around here, so I used to see every game. So yeah, it was taking me back to, even though I was much younger, it was taking me back. I remembered it.
Watching it for me is like growing up, I had every Michael Jordan tape from Come Fly With Me to, I don't even remember the names of them, but I got every single one of them. And a couple of them, I got on VHS, and then a couple of them, the DVD era, took over. So I got a few more of those on DVD.
Well, if you got on VHS, it's old.
I was about to say, you just lost a bunch of the kids. A bunch of those kids are like, what's that? What's a VHS?
Yeah, man. You had to actually put it in the VCR and hit rewind and fast forward, stop, all of that stuff. So, like I said, my pops is a big MJ fan. So, I had every tape, and seeing some of the stuff that I'm seeing on TV now with the new documentary, it's like I'm catching more of the same stuff, but at the same time I'm learning some new stuff. So I like I said, like Ben said, I could have watched all 10 in one day.
Now, who do you when you look at the team, who do you most identify with? Obviously, for me, I was a Kukoc guy, and not because of some of those obvious reasons people were trying, but I'm talking about from style of play. I'm a lefty. Watching Kukoc, the way he moved was similar to how I like to play. For either one of y'all or both of you, who when you look at that team, who are the guys that you most identify with?
For me, let me put this in context. No way. No way. No way. No way. And let me say that again. No way am I saying I'm MJ. But most definitely MJ in the competitive part. It was a part at practice where he was on his teammates hard about messing up the play, getting better. And actually one of my guys from college was like, bro, that's you every day. They're
what about you, Sherrard?
For me, it's kind of like a mixture of the competitiveness with Jordan. Definitely, is part of me. But I was a shooter also, so to see Kukoc and Kerr, be able to find the spots on the floor and be able to contribute at the right time, that's part of me also. And then I was a quiet leader. Like I kind of was like leader by example. I didn't say a whole lot, but if it got to that point, I would. So I'm kind of in a combination of a few guys from that team.
Well, to me, I'm hopeful. I was listening yesterday to the director, and he was talking about he had just signed off on episode 7 for the final audio mix. And so, like, the fact that they're like, we think that it's a finished product, but they weren't planning to put that out till June. So, like, they're having to speed up. So, like, the director, he's still finishing up some of these last episodes while we're watching them. But I'm like, y'all, if they would put all 10 out there right now, I'd watch all 10. And then I was watching episode 1 again last night.
Thanks. Yeah.
I mean, that's like I said, that's my childhood. I grew up watching in '91 when they played the Lakers. Me being a young kid watching the Lakers and the Celtics, I was like, man, there ain't no way they're gonna win. I want MJ to win. Like I remember when he did that weird little flippy move, where he switched hands and then dropped it off the glass. I watched that live.
And what's so crazy about that, when you look at back, it was so unnecessary. It just showed how good he was. Like, he could have easily dunked that ball. Like, he did it just like, all right, I'm just going to show you on MJ. Right? I'm going to take it. Right, I'm playing right now. Like, y'all don't take a chance.
That's what I'm grateful for, is that some of these younger guys are getting to see somebody that just – he was just head and shoulders better than everybody. And, this whole I loved Kobe. I think his game was fantastic. LeBron, great player. But there's just no doubt, if you watch Jordan play and you talk to his people that he played with, there's no doubt he's it. There's nobody else like him. There will be nobody else like him.
That argument is more so for the younger generation, man, because I have that argument with the kids around Riverside when we were in school every day, that MJ was different. Even though I was a kid, like even watching it now, you can see it wasn't, nobody was close to him. And even if he played in this era, he would dominate. I still think he would dominate. It wouldn't be close.
I agree with you. And that's nothing, like, I'm not one of those, that's not taking anything from LeBron. Like, LeBron is amazing. I rock with LeBron. Kobe too, but when you watch it, and us having the benefit of seeing all 3 of them, these kids are really just talking because they only really seen one of them in their prime.
Right.
So that's what they go by. But just seeing them all 3 and how they dominated in their respective eras, it would have to be Jordan for me. And I don't want to get off topic, but that's one thing I hate. I hate when, like, not even just kids, but people, like, you try to disrespect generations. But the thing is, if you're, like they saying Jordan has history, those guys weren't athletic. Those were the most athletic guys on the planet at that time. And the same now, I could find clips of LeBron dominating great players in the NBA, and it would make them not look athletic. That's just right. That's what great players do to other good players. You don't make them. They just don't look as good against you.
Yeah, that's why you end up needing to get a hold to a quarter so you can have down on the next game, because you ain't going to be playing after this game. And all I'll say to end the whole Jordan conversation is when he came back mid-season in 94, 95, when he decided to quit baseball and come back, like 2 days in, Cuz dropped like 45, 50 points. So, I don't see how – he just said, I'm going to come back and play basketball, trained for a couple weeks and came back and was dropping 40 or 50 points on professionals. That just don't happen.
Yeah, I'll take 2 weeks off and I'll be rusty, let alone 13 months.
Well, let's shift gears, because we're here to talk with Mr. Sherrard about all the awesome stuff he's going on. And before we get deep into your career, what's been your go-to pandemic snack? What are you snacking on most right now?
I got a lot of fruit, man. I've been stacking up on a lot of fruit, like cuties and grapes. That's my thing. I don't really do a whole lot of chips and all that other stuff.
You better than me. I get on them chips. I get on cuties too, but I get on cuties with chips.
Yeah, those are my go-tos right now. So.
What about you, Coach Smith?
I eat. I eat what the baby eat. whatever the baby eat, bro.
So you eating fruit snacks and crackers and
all that, yeah. Because whatever I have, he gonna eat. So it's like whatever we just gonna share it, bro. Whatever it is.
That means he's gonna have like vanilla wafers, animal crackers,
yeah. He
Doritos
eat Oreos all the time. Oreos. His go-tos are Oreos, fruit snack, and he loves oranges though, like 3 a day.
That's good.
I believe it.
Get that vitamin C. Now, Sherrard, switching gears all the way back to your playing career at Dublin, for those who aren't familiar, you claimed a state championship. Your team went 31-1 that year and just completely dominated the field. In fact, I don't even remember, who did y'all lose to that year?
Collins Hill in a tournament in Florida. I want to say the tournament is called City of Palms. It's like a national tournament in Florida, and we played them there. And that's the only game we lost.
So, we talked with Chris last week, Chris Smith, for those of you guys that didn't watch last week's episode, and just talking about the dominance that you guys had. What do you feel played the biggest role in allowing you all to be such a dominant team that year?
I think chemistry, the fact that when Moore Street and Hillcrest got together in middle school, 6th grade, when all us, we were all in the same PE class, most of the guys that was on the team. So from that point forward, we played ball like probably almost every single day if we could, outside of football season. So I think that was the starting point of building our chemistry. And from that point forward, man, we kind of just, like I said, we played every single day.
Now, one of the things that Coach Smith, y'all have a brotherhood. This isn't just an 09 team, like 06, 09, all of you guys are a brotherhood of sorts. And Coach Smith, I want to defer to you on some of this too. Talk about how that brotherhood helped in creating that and cultivating that culture of success.
I think one thing about it, I think all great teams, you have love for each other. So you just, you push each other on the floor to work harder simply off of more than just being a basketball player. You have love for each other. And it kind of started early with us too. Like we have, we related to each other in a lot of ways. Sean and myself related. And then like Sherrard said, they were all close to us hanging together. We were always together anyway, whether we was in 6th grade, 3rd grade, or 9th grade. And they were in 6th grade. So seeing them come along and as being older, you identify with the group. Like when we saw them, we like, okay, they can win. Like they're gonna be good. No disrespect between the classes that came in between us, but just from a standpoint, talent standpoint, you can see the Sherrards, the Chris Smith, the Sherrards, the Trent Barnes, just that whole class. So we start building a relationship there and grooming them when we were seniors to win. And I remember talking to them, and we had a summer league game, and they were winning all the summer league games. This is how good they were. They were playing a adult league summer league, and they were like in first place most of the year. But of course, my team ended up winning it. When it mattered. But they got upset in the Final Four because they missed some free throws or something. And I remember just like getting on them hard, like that's all it takes. Like y'all dominated all year. You had one moment of arrogance, and you let the team hang around, and then they beat you. And then in the end, that's all it takes. In when you get into high school, it's one bad night. And then you out, and all people you can say is you should have won. And I think they took those type of lessons, just moved forward, and that's why they were so dominant. Like they didn't take any nights off.
Yep, that pretty much sums it up, man. And I even remember, it's not much that I forget, but just small talks having with a couple of guys. Like I remember one conversation having with Ben. It was one night, I think it was at Michael Brown's house. I don't even know why we was over there, but we were just hanging. We were just hanging out, and he was like, "Man, listen, I'm gonna give you the realest thing that I can give you right here, right now. This is my last."
No, it's good.
Oh, okay. He was like, "I'm gonna give you this last speech about, how I feel like the season should go, and the type of season that you guys should have, and it's just strictly based off y'all talent and chemistry that y'all have with each other. And the last thing he said was, it's so easy to lose and it's so hard to win. So ever since then, that always stuck with me, like even throughout that whole senior year, throughout all of my college, and even when I played overseas, you know, they just show you how close, like, you know, the older guys were to us, even though they had already graduated and moved on.
I remember that like yesterday too, bro. Ooh, with the dime right there.
Man, I ain't seen
This still was the best gym though. Like, I love our new gym, but it don't give you that like on top of you feel like the old gym.
That closed atmosphere. You can hear people talking to you.
Talking, and the crowd is just like, you can fall into the crowd and they can like touch you. Like, it's nothing like that.
This is like junior year highlights right here too. This ain't even my senior year.
And fun.
Now I had to stop it because God bless it, that audio is coming through on my end. So I'm hearing an old school hip hop song and not hearing much of y'all. But I can tell y'all were getting worked up pretty good, seeing the highlights. Sherrard, obviously you had that spot shot going on. I mean, if you got to your spot and they got you the ball, that release and it was in. What made you become a spot shooter? Was that just something that naturally you evolved into, or is that something that you had to work at?
I think it's a combination of both. I shot a lot at home, like by myself. If I didn't have anybody around, like I would always be in the yard shooting. So, you know, if I didn't do anything else, if I didn't go outside and just work on ball handling or just do anything else, I always made sure that I made like a certain amount of shots. So, you know, I would just sit out there and maybe not count, but just shoot for hours. So
wow.
And then Rashard had a nag for always finding me in the right spot. Like if anything else, I knew how to get to a spot, and he always knew how to find me. So it kind of just played into his own role.
Now, Coach Ben, what else would you like to ask about the Dublin time?
First round, I watched this game not too long ago. First round, Northeast senior year. You know, y'all run into the crazy things happen. That one of the best teams, I think y'all like number 1, they were like number 3. They get upset and y'all get them in the first round, a potential Final Four matchup, and they come down to the end. Like what I wasn't at that game, but what was that like? Because it had to be a little bit of nerves. It had to be.
Man, from the start of that game, I think they jumped down. It was like 17-4 or something crazy like that. And the only thing I could think about is no way I could leave this gym tonight knowing that we was number 1 all year and we let a number 4 team come in here and upset us at home. But toward the end, man, I think the fact that we came back and as hard as we were fighting, I figured that would take us over the top. Like you couldn't give a team like us another chance like that the way they did. And you know, toward the end, I found C. Smith over in the corner.
Yeah,
just a big shot.
Big shot. Play. But I think what you said is very important. And there are rarely, even if you dominant as both of our teams were, you're always gonna run into that game that, you know, it can go either way. And once you get past, it can be first round, it can be third. And once you get past that game, that's usually it. But you have to get past that game. And you usually win those games with character more than skill. Just like you said, you were down 17-4, whatever. A lot of teams would have panicked, folded 10 or whatever. Like this year with our team, we were down against Washington County 18-3 in the region championship. And we had a lot of new guys. They didn't necessarily know how to handle that situation. They didn't quit at all. But we played hard, but we didn't play composed. You have to do both in those situations. I think y'all, after going through those wars, Final Four and all, and just being so focused on winning the championship, that's what pushed y'all through. And then from the rest of the way, y'all pretty much just steamrolled everybody.
Right. And just to speak on that Northeast team that we did play, they were probably the most athletic team besides us in Double A that year. Like one of the guys played at Campbell University, Marvell Harris. A couple other guys played on the same AAU team with us with Georgia Select. So we knew them and we knew what they had. So when we got the draw, you know, Northeast, it's like, how in the world did they even end up number 4?
Yeah.
But
what they doing here?
Yeah, that's about, like you said, though, I think a lack of character that they had on their team, which caused them to be a number 4 seed. But if they were number 3 or even number 2, we would have met them further down the line anyway.
Gotcha.
Well, shifting gears to your collegiate time, you know, obviously you got a ring with Dublin and you moved on to Northwest Florida State. Is that correct to play JUCO for that first year?
Right.
Talk about what, you know, going JUCO. I see a lot of kids that try to look at college and they want to only be, you know, SEC, ACC, you know, Big Ten, whatever, you know, they want to go big time right off. And in your case, you went a slightly different route. You went the JUCO route first, got in that work, and we're seeing similar stuff with some of our former players that are now signing with teams like Wichita State that went the JUCO route first. So talk about that experience and how valuable that was for you to be able to get prepared to make that next step to the SEC.
Experience in the junior college life, it helped me as a person, but it helped my game also. I didn't want to go junior college, but I thought it was the best opportunity for me, because I didn't have any offers up until the last week before I even left to go to junior college. FAMU came and offered me and said, you know, if you don't want to go there, you can come here like right now. And it was maybe like 3 days before I left, so I ended up going the junior college route. But junior college was much different than I expected. Like I knew guys were going to be good, but I didn't expect them to be as good because like it's junior college. You know, my whole goal was just to go Division I. I didn't care what level. If Ben would have came 2 days before and said, hey, we got an offer for you at Jacksonville, I probably would have signed like that night.
That would have been awesome. I would have been all about that because, like, to me personally, I remember when you were going through that process and it was blowing my mind that schools weren't seeing what I was seeing. And I'm like, man, this guy works hard. He's got a clean shot. He's grown. He has grown as a player from freshman to senior year. And based on what I had seen watching you, I didn't see that you were tapering off. I felt like you still had some uptick in you, meaning that you would get better over time. So I imagine that had a lot of fire under you when you were at Northwest Florida State. What did you do while you were there to try to give yourself this chance, which ultimately transitioned into a playing career at UGA?
I pretty much just zoned everything out. Like I zoned everything out when I got there. I didn't do as much on social media, you know, because I really hated that place. I just wanted to get out of there. I hated it. I was like, whatever it takes, I'm going to make sure, even if I got to shoot my way out of here, that's what I'm going to do. And, you know, that's basically what I did. I shot 43% from 3 the entire year. I think we was ranked top 5 the majority of the year, number 1 for maybe 2 weeks at a time. And I played with a few other guys who were they were pretty athletic, and they also went Division I high major. Brian Bryant went to Mississippi State. Toby Ville from Savannah went to Wichita. I think when he first came out, but after the JUCO route, he went to Virginia Commonwealth. And then I had some other guys who might have went to Morehead State and different places like that, Coastal Carolina. Yeah, you probably do remember Brian being he came on a visit to Jacksonville.
Yeah, I thought so.
He from Albany.
Yeah, that's why I know him, because Chris Edwards was from Albany. I knew the name sounded familiar. That was his boy. I got you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's basically my take on the JUCO thing, man. And for guys who want to go to junior college route, don't look at it as, you know, just look at it as a stepping stone. I'm gonna take this opportunity to showcase what I got. And I know Division I schools or whatever level you're trying to play at, is gonna come watch. They're always watching. Even if you think they're not, they looking at the internet, they watching stats, they want to know, you know, if you know how to win, all of that good stuff.
Oh man, you just said that last sentence. I always try to tell the guys, like, there is nothing like winning in sports, because they don't understand, like, winning keeps jobs. If I'm a college coach, I'm gonna get the guy who can help me win. I don't care if this guy, I'm not gonna say I don't care, but if this guy averaged 26 and he only care for him and if we're gonna lose games, that's not gonna keep my job. I'm gonna get the guy, he might average 18, who know how to help these others rebound, win, and people. Like in the high school level, I was telling one of our players, because he got injured, he didn't get to play at AAU and stuff. The deeper you go, the more people come see you. Because the way colleges look at it, the best players make it to the end. So if you make it to the end of high school, those are the better teams, better players. I'm going to see you. So even if you're not on the radar, I might be playing against Sherrard, who's number 5 point guard in the state. But because we're in the Final Four, now we playing him, I kill him or I play even with him. Now I'm getting the same call from the coach. Like, I don't know. So winning is like, I know it's not in our culture somehow it has got mixed and people want to be the stars and it's more about the individual, but nothing is in front of winning. For people who win to know, we know that winning comes first at every level.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Well, talking about winning, you know, you won in life when you left Northwest Florida State, because you got a unique opportunity to come back to your home state and then take part with the University of Georgia Bulldogs. And I remember when I found out that you were going to UGA, I was so excited because, you know, we've had players go to all kinds of places. You know, obviously Jermaine went to Wagner, Ben went to Jacksonville. We've had kids go to all number of schools. And to have somebody go to a name school, even if basketball-wise, you know, Georgia really, outside of Dominique, they haven't had that, you know, that real call of, hey, we're a dominant, you know, SEC school, but you're still in a top-tier conference competing against the best players, in some cases, in the world. You play a Kentucky team, you could have 4 or 5 of those guys going on the ball in the NBA. So Talk about that time when you made that step up to UGA. What was the most eye-opening part for you transitioning from Northwest Florida State to UGA?
The most eye-opening thing was that there's a whole nother level to it. When I walked in there, you know, I'm thinking, you know, this is about to be another type of stepping stone where I got to prove myself again and pretty much show these guys that I deserve to be here. And honestly, when I walked in, I thought I was better than everybody. But you know, after a few pickup sessions and practices, I had to realize, like, it's a whole different level. So, you know, certain things that I have to adjust, it's a certain way I have to adjust.
That's right. I think that's with anything. When you go to college, man, people don't understand until you there. Like, that next level, like, even just the pace. If you go to a college game, you might look like, okay, I can keep up. But once you get out there, like in high school, you might go by somebody, it's a guy 6'2" rotating. Then you go to college, it's a guy 6'9" who takes 3 less steps to get there. So that gap closes that much faster. And like, just those little things you can't prepare for until you actually on the court and it's happening.
Hi, Ray. How are you?
Say what's up?
That's a handsome boy.
That's the star right here. Say what's up?
Look at Uncle Sherrard. Uncle Sherrard just dropped that 3 on Kentucky.
You see you?
He's like, yeah, let me get some of that. Let me get some of that one-on-one action.
I'm gonna tell you, he's gonna get it too. Between him and AJ, Dr. Stuckey's little boy. Yeah. Me and Ben were talking the other day about the new Dublin, and those two are gonna be the next championship for sure.
We grown got see. Don't forget about Chris Smith. He got a 1-year-old.
Yeah. Well, you said he was gonna be the bruiser.
Man, he gonna be the Draymond 15, 10, and 10.
Hey, and you got to have that talk too. Now that was one thing that I loved about you, Ben, is you weren't afraid. And I know this goes back to your time playing at Oconee and playing AAU ball. You weren't afraid to tell somebody what it was and then go and do it.
Oh no, not at all. I'm just I think this go back to me just being really competitive. And once I make my mind up, like that's just what I'm just going to get it. And I don't care. I want you to know that I'm coming to get it. And you can do whatever you can to try to stop it. But if it's my team, we're going to get it. If it's me individually, we're going to get it. And if you're not willing to go as far as we're going to go, then it's probably not for you.
Now, Sherrard, you had the opportunity to play for a variety of different people in high school and in college. What do you think, what were the lessons that you learned that you're now getting to apply in your coaching life from these different, and you can, if there's a particular lesson from each coach, feel free to drop those out, but just to show how you can learn different things, like this coach may be good at offense, this coach may be good at defense. Talk about that for a second.
Right. Well, from 9th through 11th grade, I had the same coach, Coach Thomas, who had been at Dublin for years. I don't even know how many years, but Coach Thomas was more of a laid back, but he would also allow you to kind of do the things that you needed to do to make yourself feel comfortable. I had a little more leeway than I did, say, towards my senior year, where the talk was all about the talk all year was all about playing hard and just playing defense under Coach Latham. Like we didn't run a lot of sets. We kind of because we already knew each other. We didn't really have to run a lot of sets. We just played basketball, and the main focus was getting 3 stops in a row. And so I still carry that over to, when I'm coaching also. And then my junior college, we did run more sets there where, but he was all about playing hard. And that's the main focus of, what most of my coaches were talking about is playing hard and playing defense. And then if you get those 2 things, then a majority of the other things will find a way to work itself out.
You just spoke Coach Ben's language. I don't have nothing to add on that. How about you, Coach?
I mean, that's what it is. I think that's the core of any good team. Even the Warriors team, a couple years ago with KD, and even before KD, the 73 and 9 team, people always talk about their talent. But if you heard other players talk around the league, they would always say, "Man, they play so hard." Defense, they were like top 3 in defense that year. They play so hard on offense. They cut hard. They set hard screens. It's just because it's one of those things that's small that people hate to do. If you can consistently keep playing hard all game, you'll win games like that. And then when you add talent and skill to that mentality, now you're looking at something that's really hard to beat, which our team 06 had, their team had, and then on a much larger level, your Villanovas in college,
right.
Golden State. Like when you play hard, it's because it's so bruising on the other team. Like, God, he guarded me on defense, and I gotta chase him around screens, and eventually they let up. And then as the game go, you just pull away more and more and more.
Well, you talk about that. That reminds me of those East Hall teams in the 2000s. The reason they were so consistently competitive wasn't that they were necessarily head and shoulders. They might have a couple guys that were strong, but they were running 5 at you, full court press for 4 minutes. Then they were subbing those out and putting another 5 out for another 4 minutes and running just as hard and just as fast. And you could run with a team like that for a quarter or 2, but by the time you got into that 3rd and 4th quarter, if you're a team that's 6 or 8 deep, you're running on empty because your star guys, their legs are gone from them, and now that's when they tighten up the coils like a snake, and next thing you know, you lose by 30.
Yeah, that's what happened. Well, they beat us by 30, but my junior in the Final Four, that's what happened. They had a great game plan. They would double and trap me, just run people at me all game, but they stayed a close game all the way through like the middle of the 4th quarter. But you can tell they were subbing, and you could tell we were getting tired. It was like a 4-point game, and then it went boom, 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 like 11 that quick. And then we kind of never recovered. We ended up losing like about 12 or 13, but it's simply because they just wore us down. They were just more prepared, and they had been there. They knew how to play those games. They were 10, 11 deep. We were like 6 or 7. So, but I'm still mad about that. I wanted to play them so bad again my senior year. Like
Thomasville ruined that, man.
Oh man, when we walked in, they were about to play. So we got there early and we stayed in. We actually got into an argument in the back because I seen it when they play. I said, I can't even tell you what I said, but I said, don't mess this up. We're gonna kill y'all Saturday.
Yeah, this is a family show. We got children present. We got to be careful.
Yeah. Y'all been like this a long time.
Hey, even piggybacking off of that, man. When you talk about this changing the subject a little bit. When you talk about establishing a culture, you know, Riverside Military is here in Gainesville, and East Hall is like 10 minutes away. But even watching them guys play now at East Hall, the culture is still there. The talent. They not some of the guys not as talented as they were, you know, back in the early 2000s or mid 2000s. But
right,
they still play the exact same way. They play hard. They play smart, and they play physical. So they hadn't lost a lot of their culture.
That's what you want.
Well, and that's something that, you know, I go back to even with Dublin basketball back, you know, when West Lawrence was competing for a state championship, and even before then when East Lawrence was competing against Wilkinson County, even in those years, our basketball teams, they always brought it. You know, we were gonna compete. And if I remember correctly, the year that West Lawrence won state, I think we beat them every time we played them.
Yep, facts. Yep.
You know, and
would have
so
blew them out the first time if I didn't get hurt. But we didn't.
Yeah, I just, you know, and so that's something that I've always appreciated is that, you know, in Dublin, we're always trying to be competitive and be our best. We're not necessarily worried about you. You know, we might from a game planning and a strategy standpoint, but we're not really worried about what your record is or who you think you are. We want to come bring our best. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, Sherrard, you got the opportunity after your time at Georgia to go to one of the craziest places on earth that I didn't even know there was professional basketball. This is not throwing shade on Indonesia. You know, it's a large country. People don't realize Indonesia is a large country. But my thing is, when I was doing that Google searching and that Facebook snooping, getting all the stuff ready for today, I text Ben and I'm like, "Are you for real? He played in Indonesia? Talk about that. That's crazy."
Gotta love it, man. Go ahead, Slim.
Hey, man, that's Indonesia had to be probably one of the best professional atmospheres to play in. Like even from watching highlights of other guys, I'm not talking like I played in every country, but looking at highlights of other guys and the places that they played at, Indonesia had some of the best fans, man, and it was always packed. The way the schedule worked was every weekend is when the games were, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the games will start at like 12 o'clock and go all the way to 8 o'clock. Every team is going to play every weekend. And it's packed, like from the time you walk in there to the time that it's time to go, every weekend.
See, that's pretty crazy because, you know, when I watched Jermaine and even watching some of Ben's clips, you know, some of them folks overseas, they ain't quite as intrigued about basketball, or at least they weren't at the time. You be looking in those stands and sometimes it'd be a little light and it's like, come on, y'all, like, you know, you getting to watch pro basketball, but to hear that, to have a full gym, I mean, Ben, how many times did you get to have a sure enough packed out the house gym to be playing a game?
Well, he said it depends where you at, because I'm sure in Indonesia, it might not have been that much going on. So it depends where the like country and your city. Like when I was in France, they like basketball, but we in a huge football, soccer, you know, like that dominates athletics. So, and we're close to Paris. So, you know, it's so much going on. Like they got so much to do. But then when I was in Iceland, as you advance and you're in these small cities, there's nothing else to do. Okay, the gym is going to be packed because this is the only event going on.
And because it's warm in there. It's Iceland, y'all. You can't be outside. You got to be inside.
If you can get to the gym, don't even get me started on those stories. Bro. We used to get games canceled because of the weather. Like the weather just be out. No, like I can't make this up. It's like sunny outside now, and then literally 10 minutes later, snowing, wind. Tiffany will tell you one time we opened the door, the wind literally snatched the door off the hinges. Like going that hard. Like it was crazy.
My God.
Like, that's not a story to make y'all laugh. That's dead serious. Like, it was hanging. Like, it was all the way out, but snatched it off. It literally couldn't shut. It was like, real crazy.
That sounds like something out of a movie.
Yeah, that's just like Iceland for real. You think he gonna play? It be 7 o'clock. Play at 7-6. The weather get crazy. National advisement. Teams can't travel. That's for the day.
Man, and so that gets me onto another topic. When you playing overseas, is we are blessed, in my opinion, to live in one of the most food-rich places on earth. The South, to me, has some of the best food you're ever going to eat, period. What were you snacking on in Indonesia?
That's a great question. I want to know.
Listen, yeah, I'm a food person. Like, I don't snack a lot, but if it's food, then I eat. So, and I'm open-minded when it comes to food. So I try.
You better been way open-minded.
Yeah, I try the stuff that you think there's no way you about to eat that. Like that, I eat stuff like that. But what I ate over there a lot was duck. Like, I never ate duck while I was here. I don't know why. But I never ate it while I was here. But while I was in Indonesia, the little outside tent, so they cook outside, and everybody come up on the scooters and all that stuff. It's just so unsanitary.
especially these times.
Like, while you eating, sometimes you might taste like some dirt in your food or something. You crunching it, like it was bad, man.
So they ain't got that paper on the wall like they do at the Wendy's?
No, they ain't got that. Like, you can just walk up and tell them, well, I just point to what I want, but and they have like a fried duck like hanging by his neck, just sitting there. And I was like, man, let me try some duck. And from that day forward, like that's what I ate for like a couple weeks at a time. But
what's the weirdest thing that you ate while you were there?
I wouldn't know the name of it, but it's probably some sort of soup or something like that. And they put like a bunch of sriracha sauce and some other sweet peanut type of sauce in it also. And I tried that. That's probably the weirdest thing I ate. I didn't really enjoy that. But
I figured you were gonna say like grasshoppers or some kind of mess like that. You watch that Bizarre Foods guy. He all the time be talking about, they get this eel out the water and they beat it on the head and then put it in a salad and then you snack on it. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's funny you say that, because my coach is from Beijing. So I used to ask him, like, what's some weird stuff that you would eat, that you eat in China or whatever.
Boy,
and he told me he told me the weirdest thing, and it is weird because you would never picture anybody eating this, is that he ate like some part of a monkey or something like that. And I was like, man, that's the closest thing to us that you can find. Like, why would you?
Yeah.
Why would you eat a part of a monkey, man? Like,
No.
But China different, bro. China different. Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna tell y'all, when I was 5 years old, I was living in California. I had my grandparents lived in Warner Robins, so we flew out here to visit them. And my aunt and uncle were crazy, and they got these VHS cassettes, just to throw it back even deeper. And it was called Faces of Death. And it was this video where they would show like different crazy things, back before you had TMZ and all this other mess. The only way you got a hold of like crazy news or crazy video was through these Faces of Death videos. And like one of them, it showed some guy that was parachuting and he fell into the Everglades and got ate up by an alligator. And keep in mind, I'm 5 years old. Like, why were my parents letting me be anywhere near this mess? Well, one of them was they were eating on some monkeys, and I'll never forget that. Like, it scarred me, man. You can't read a Curious George book no more after that. Poor George, man. He was supper. Poor George, man. I feel so bad that monkey got so curious he got ate.
Yeah, oh man, listen, that food, I'm glad Sherrard was like that. And listen, I'm the opposite. Like, I'm not trying to, like, bro, sometimes I look at my pictures and I be like, I was so small because when I went to China for those 40 days, first meal they ruined me. came out first. We walked through the kitchen. I cannot make this up. So we walking to what we're supposed to eat. I look and I see a snake just rattling around in the cage, like he just next to get cooked. You know what I'm saying? So we get there, they bring the food out, and they like, we got fish. So I'm like, all right, cool, I eat fish. It just looked like they caught the fish out the water and just threw it in grease, like head on.
Head still on.
Yep. I'm like, bro, you can't be shit. For like 38 out of the 40 days, I ate rice and eggs 3 times a day. I
don't blame you.
I was like, I'm not eating that, bro. Rice, egg, and bread all day.
But ain't their KFCs kind of different too? I mean, it's not the same. It's not like you walking into our KFC, right?
It's close. It's close enough. But at that point, when you an American overseas, if you see McDonald's or KFC, like you think you're going to like Cheesecake Factory or something. You definitely going. That's what it is.
Oh, Lord of mercy. Well, Sherrard, I know we could probably spend all day talking bizarre foods, but I wanted to cap things off by talking about your time coaching now, because obviously it seems like I see a common theme with y'all. So many of you guys take your lessons learned and you're paying it forward in some form or fashion. What made you want to consider coaching?
Well, I knew I wanted to coach from when I was in 7th grade. My middle school coach at the time, Coach Villia, which he's probably one of my best friends. Just hanging around him and seeing, how much he related to us, and I think that helped our relationship, and the coaching standpoint also, that the fact that he could relate to us, and I knew that when I got older, I would always be able to relate to my players also. So from doing that, from playing under him, kind of set my path. Like eventually, when I'm done playing, like this is what I want to do. I want to be able to coach and be around young guys who are similar to me, who got the same passion. So that's what got me into coaching.
Ben, tell for both of y'all, what's the difference? You talk about connecting with your players, and I think explain that out, how that's different than, you're not being friends with your players, but talk about how connecting with the kids is different than being their buddy or their pal.
Yeah, connecting is definitely different because it comes with, it's always, you have to establish that respect factor. You're not there. Well, I would consider not friends like they're friends, but I think our relationship with my players are friends. You have to connect. Like, you have to meet them at their level. You have to understand what they're going through, and even if you played or not, you have to understand at 16, what was I thinking about? Like, those type of lessons, and understand, like, okay, they have more than, even though when they get there, you want to play basketball first, it could be more going on in their life than basketball. So you have to connect there. Like, sometimes, like, my guys, they'll come to me with their girl problem, but that still helps you. That still helps you coach them and relate to them on the basketball floor too, because they understand, like, all right, he's just not here to coach me. He's trying to make me a better person, and like, he cool, like, he been through this too, so it's always that thing. And I'm big on honesty, like, up front. I'm like, some coaches love to always pump you up. I'm gonna do both. Like, if you're doing great, I'm gonna pump you up. If you're not doing what you're supposed to, I'm gonna say you can be better. And I think for most athletes, they like that approach, because it's not, all right, he's not just telling me this to make me feel good, he's actually looking out for me as well. So
how about you, Sherrard? You kind of in that same spot?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same situation, like, where I can really relate to my players, and being not too far removed from, like, I know at this point it was 11 years ago when I was in high school, but I'm still young enough to where I can understand, like, why this kid said this, or why this kid lied about this, and why rebound this way. I get all of those reasons. But still, the older side of me always let them know that, there's no excuse for, this type of action that you did. you could have done better. Even though you did a good job here, you could have done better. And I can see you improving this. It's all those key factors. So, I just love it, man. I love kids. I love it.
That's one thing that I noticed with, with all y'all, there's this continuous improvement, like y'all are always looking to get better. How do I get better? How do I get better? And so, I'm grateful that y'all are getting to impart those lessons down to new generations, because, the fact is there's a lot of sorriness that's ending up in the world today, especially because of these phones and all this distraction, all this noise. Me growing up, I was telling my son the other day, and it blew his mind. I said, son, my mama gave me an AT&T long distance card that I kept in my wallet. And if I got somewhere and it was an emergency and I had to get a hold to her, I had called that number from a payphone, which I don't even know if anybody, younger than us knows what we're talking about. We talk about a payphone, but you would call that on that card, so it would charge her phone bill. So I could call without using a quarter to drop in to make a call. And my son was like,
"What's that?
That's crazy." He said, "Well, what did you do?" I said, "Son, you just figured it out." I mean, when I was a little kid, I remember getting dropped off at soccer practice whenever I was 8, 9 years old. And I lived in a rougher neighborhood in Sacramento. And my wife was like, "Your mother was insane." I said, "Well, back then we didn't think like that." I said, "And you didn't, so they just, nowadays there's so much distraction. There's so much temptation. What do y'all do to try to limit that noise with your players?"
That's a great question. Same. I'll just be honest with them. Like, even though it's a lot of new temptation, nothing really changes. It's I've been through those similar things. Okay, you might have more of it, but the world doesn't change. Just come back around and different stuff. So I tell them, I have real conversations with them, like if they're friends or into something that they shouldn't be into. Listen, that doesn't mean that doesn't need to be your friend. You can be cool with them and not, but you don't have to hang around them, because you don't want to get into stuff they get into. That don't mean you go around and beef and dislike them, but it's gonna come a point in your life where, like, you just have to separate. Like, you have to know what's good for you, and if they continue to do that, okay, we cool and all, but I can't hang with you. So those are the type of things I give them, because when you're in it, you can't see it. Us older people, you can see it different. And that's not to judge any kid, but you can see, okay, this guy's into this, and this guy, my kid might be faking it. You're trying to act like you're in it, but if the real situation comes, you're not going to be able to handle it. That kid going to be fine, whether it's good or bad, he going to handle himself, but you'll be the one that can't handle it and end up in the worst situation. So I just try to show them before they see it, pretty much.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much the same, man. Like, I could talk to my kids all the time about, what to do and what not to do and do that. But, especially with these phones now, that's all they want to do is play on their phone. But luckily also for me is I'm at a military school, so their phone privileges is like to a bare minimum. Like, they might get their phone at like 7 o'clock at night and have to turn it in at 10. And that's it for them. So it's a lot of the distractions. It don't play a factor here, but they find a way to get distracted in other things. Like Ben said, this guy might be doing this and better, but because that's your boy, that's your friend, you want to hang
cool
around.
Thing they do.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, it's also cool to be your own man.
Yeah.
What works for Ben might not work for me. What works for me might not work for Ben. But that's just sometimes for them to go through that too, to also realize, like, I shouldn't have been doing that. You was right. From now on, I'm just gonna watch it from a distance and not get with them guys out.
Sometimes they just don't have to hit their head. That's just what it is.
Oh yeah.
You just gotta watch them do it. Like, I told you.
Well, the thing I appreciate about y'all is y'all also teach a valuable lesson in the fact that, and for all these young men in particular, and this shows for the ladies too. So I'm not just wanting to speak just to the young men, but young ladies prefer a guy that's going to be independent and stand on his own feet more than they are somebody that's running with a group, you know, because for everything that I've seen, especially once you get grown, you know, they want to see a strong, capable, able person that's going to provide for their family, you know, and that's something that y'all, you know, are teaching lessons because at the end of the day, you know, 99.9% of the kids you coach, they're not going to go pro. Probably 70, 80, 85% of the kids you coach aren't going to go to college and play ball. So it's really not just about getting ready to play that next game. It's trying to get ready for that life. You know, what happens, like, you know, with both of y'all right now, y'all got jobs. You know, thankfully they're jobs where you get to stay closely connected to what you love. And I'm getting jealous of y'all. I saw you, Sherrard, eating that cutie a while ago, and Ben fitting the chow down now too. Got my stomach growling. And but I get excited when I see y'all helping share these lessons with these kids. Now, Sherrard, before we let you go, because it's almost lunchtime, obviously by Coach Ben's clock, you know, him and Ray got to get on that snack time. Them Oreos are calling. We got one burning question that I'm hoping we can answer quickly, but it may not come quickly. 06 or 09?
Man, 09, baby, 09.
Jason.
Hold on, man. I'm gonna piggyback off of that too, because I know Ben got something smart to say, because we in the group chat, so I get to work.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
y'all got us at a good time, but at a bad time. We kind of on a high. You know, we 31-1. I think we deserve that rematch.
Who want to see an old rematch, man? Didn't you see the Manny and Floyd fight? They was past the prime. We done.
It's a closed gym. It's a closed gym rematch. We ain't even got a pub.
Hey, listen, I keep telling y'all, keep careful what you ask for now. This all I know. This all I know. One team lost, one team won. That's all I can say. I mean,
I can't ever take that away, man. I can't.
You know, you had your chance. Y'all, I know y'all old enough to remember the Wire. Oh, more little. If you come at the king, you best not miss.
Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to wrap it up for today. It's been a fantastic conversation. I want to thank you, Sherrard, for taking time out of your day to come join us. And my hope is that this is going to inspire some young people to know that Dublin City Schools is a place where greatness is achievable. You just got to put in that work. I want to wish you continued success at Riverside. Maybe sometime down the road we can get you down here in some green and gold to help then out. Y'all could dominate once Ray and AJ and Chris's little boy get grown. Then we wouldn't have to worry about 06 or 09. It'd be like 28 or 32 or whatever year that is.
We playing the national schedule at that point.
I heard that.
Well, Sherrard, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, no problem, man. I appreciate you guys.
Y'all, thank you so much for joining us. This has been Irish from 3 with Coach Ben Smith.